you and to those you represent in the profession the enormous regard, respect, and appreciation that we have for teachers. I have a soft spot for teachers. I think you know that. I've talked about a number of them in these settings and others. My sixth grade teacher who was such an extraordinary person back on the south side of Chicago, who made us feel like we've been touched by fire, as the secretary said. It was the first person who gave me a sense of what it might be like to be a citizen of the world. All us kids there on welfare back on the south side, who was president when I was sworn into my job in the Justice Department. My third grade teacher, who was president when I was sworn into this job here. The freshman English teacher we talked about earlier, and I've written about from high school, who was such an extraordinary person in shaping who I am, not just what I learned, but who I am. And I credit the good parts of my character to the love that was shown, the attention that was paid by those teachers in those classrooms. There's a teacher maybe central to all of those examples whom I don't always mention, and that's my wife, who is a very, very accomplished lawyer, but started her profession as a teacher in New York City public schools, teaching the toughest kids in the toughest schools, third graders mainly, before New York had its 1970s fiscal crisis and lots of then junior teachers were laid off. And what else do you do when you get laid off if you go to law school? She still talks about that being her first love, and how when she retires from lawyering in a little while, she wants to go back to teaching, because I think she still feels more of a sense of fulfillment in touching and shaping a young life in that setting than in anything else of the many, many important and valuable things she has done. So all of that is to say, we get, and I get, how vitally important you are in shaping not just the knowledge base, but the character of the generation we are trying to rear up and the commonwealth we are trying to strengthen. And so today is an occasion for us to call attention to that. And please understand that all the work that we do, that Chairman Pike, Chairman Changia's talked about, in terms of school reform, is not about doing reform to the profession, but with the profession. That's a very important difference in how we approach that work, and we thank all of you for being a part of it.
It is tradition for the outgoing teacher here to pass along several items that will help you on your journey. First, I give you this journal. You may never have time to write it, but I encourage you to try and make the time to record your thoughts and emotions as often as you can in the next 12 months. Secondly, I give you a roadmap that you can use to travel to different places in the state. And thirdly, I can give you this book, Oh, the Places You Will Go, by Dr. Seuss. As I've said before, this is going to be one exhilarating year. The places you will go and the people you will meet will etch their names in your soul forever. Congratulations and good luck.
I read stories to my stuffed animals, took extra worksheets home from first grade, and taught my friends math during summer vacation. I don't have those friends anymore. I developed mnemonic devices to help my grandmother remember the order of Roman numerals when I was 10. And I tutored classmates before biology tests in high school. I did not have to decide what my career would be. I simply knew that I would formalize what I had always done naturally. I majored in French and completed the undergraduate teacher education program at Harvard, and I became Mademoiselle Turner at Sharon High School 18 years ago. I can't count the number of times people have raised their eyebrows in surprise and said something along the lines of, "What? You went to Harvard and became a teacher?" Or, "Wow, a degree from Harvard. Why aren't you doing something for the UN?" Or, "A teacher? But you could have done anything." And I always feel What is the point? I can't do this. I will never need this in the real world. And even if we may think that still others had no lasting effect whatsoever, they all contributed in some way to honing our ability to think, analyze, communicate, and be active citizens. And I am sure that each one of us can remember a teacher's kind words or tough love when we needed encouragement or guidance. So yes, I suppose I could have done any number of things, but in my mind, what I chose to do, and what many of you chose to do, is the foundation on which society is built. During a recent interview, a reporter asked me the double-barreled question: is your experience in public education as wonderful as you imagined it, or have there been unexpected challenges? For me, this was not either or. My answer was, without hesitation, yes and yes. Yes, I love what I do. Sure, there have been frustrating days, and even frustrating years, but I have never once gotten into the car to go to school in the morning. I don't call it work, thinking, I can't do this anymore, I wish I were doing something else. My students motivate me and inspire me. And although my title is teacher, I often think that I learn as much from my students as they may learn from me. But yes, there also have been unexpected challenges. When I envisioned my career, I knew that I would have students with diverse cognitive abilities. What I didn't expect, however, was the extent to which emotional, medical, and socioeconomic circumstances would impact students' ability to concentrate, perform, and achieve on a daily basis. There are students who are experiencing what we think of as typical teenage issues: fights with parents, peer pressure, breakups, failing a driving test, and getting rejected from first-choice colleges. And then there are students who come to school exhausted because they have to cook dinner for younger siblings every night while their parents work. Students who are sleeping in the back seat of someone's car because they have been kicked out of their house. Students who are trying to come to terms with divorce, illness, and death in their families. Students who don't speak English or who are trying to adjust to American culture. Students who have over-involved or under-involved parents. Students who have already been to rehab to treat drug and alcohol addictions. Students who suffer from debilitating anxiety and depression, and the list goes on. And yes, I have had all of these students. I had no idea that there would be days when my objective for some students would have nothing to do with French, but everything to do with being sensitive to factors in their lives that are completely beyond my control, and making sure that they don't have a breakdown, an outburst, or a panic attack, or simply that they can get through class. And although the specific situations may vary depending on grade level or shift in proportion from district to district, they exist everywhere for all teachers. As we struggle to maintain high expectations for students whose very last concern may be the daily agenda on our board, we hear much talk in political arenas and business circles about the problems in public education. Unfortunately, there is not enough consultation with the educators who grapple with these issues. We are the professionals who could provide the most valuable insight regarding the roots of the challenges we face, as well as offer potential strategies for addressing them. Despite having the best of intentions to improve teaching and learning, many of those who have the power to affect change are frequently quite removed from teachers' daily realities. They draft policies and mandates that seem sound in theory, but may indeed be ineffective or even unfeasible in practice. I thus challenge lawmakers and business leaders to further show your commitment to public education and ultimately to the nation's children by agreeing to shadow 2 teachers in your home constituencies or communities each year. I propose that you spend 1 week in what is considered to be a high-achieving district and a 2nd week in what has been labeled an underperforming district in order to witness the disparities that exist within states and not only to observe her classes, but also to accompany her to parent conferences, faculty meetings, special education evaluations, technology training sessions, and required duties. Stay with her after school and into the evenings while she corrects assessments, plans upcoming lessons, writes progress reports, responds to emails, and completes administrative paperwork. It is a common misconception that our job ends with the closing bell. Just as immersion is the most effective way for students to learn a language and understand a different culture, I believe that it is also the best way to fully understand public education. By immersing yourselves in our world, you would have a new perspective on the strengths and weaknesses of our systems. You would be able to assess, for example, whether reform movements such as Race to the Top foster improved teaching and learning, and to what extent standardized testing can measure a student's or a teacher's success. Moreover, you would see our struggle to meet the diverse needs of our students while adhering to legislation requiring increasing levels of standardization. After your 2 weeks with us, I encourage you to share what you have learned with your fellow leaders. As you compare notes, evaluate what kinds of reform might be appropriate for all schools, and what aspects of reform might better be tailored to meet the unique needs of certain schools or certain districts. Just as teachers are encouraged to consider the possibility to differentiate instruction and assessment for individual students, I respectfully urge you to consider the possibility that educational legislation may not always be one size fits all. It is my sincere hope that your experienced shadowing teachers will give you a heightened awareness of the complexities of public education, and that it will lay the groundwork for meaningful collaboration with us to define courses of action for the future. And finally, I would like to offer my sincerest congratulations to the semifinalists and finalists for the Teacher of the Year Award, and to the other educators who are being recognized today. Thank you for the difference that you make. Be proud of your profession and of the influence that you have. And above all, do not lose sight